I raped a woman. I don't believe that I'm a pathological sex offender, but at the same time, I raped. I met her at the bar. She was from England and had come to New York for a short time to tour with a musical review or something. When I walked in, I knew I wanted this girl. I wanted to have sex that night, and she looked like an inviting prospect. It was clear she'd been drinking before I arrived, and we had 3 or 4 drinks together. Our thighs rubbed together, my arm brushed against her breast. I was getting to her. We drank some more, and I grew confident that I was not going home alone that night. She was staying at a friend's place downtown, and I assumed that when we left together, it meant she was going over to my place. Once I had her out of the bar, she had no friends to help her, no one to call, nowhere to go except where I wanted her to go. We started walking, and she asked, "Where are we going?" I said, "Just walking." Knowing that we were headed in the direction of my apartment, we would stop sporadically and make out. During one heavy session, I said to her, "Come back to my place." She refused. I said, "What do you mean, no? This is New York City. You don't leave a bar with a guy and not sleep with him. Come on, this isn't England. This is a big city. This is how we do things." She still refused, but I could tell it was influencing her with that ridiculous line. We got up to my apartment and I began kissing her, but now she was not responding like she did on the street. I asked her, "What's the matter?" She just stared blankly past me. I began to touch her more aggressively, squeezing her breasts, rubbing the inside of her thighs. Still no reaction. I felt like I was fondling a rag doll. Not that I cared, I didn't need any response to get what I wanted. I tried to take her top off, and she locked her arms to her sides. I pulled and forced her arms until I got it off. I eased her down on the bed. She did not resist me, but moved like dead weight, staring straight ahead and grinding her teeth furiously. Ugh, what a repulsive sound, I said. Not a word was spoken during the struggle. Just me trying to get her legs apart and her trying to get them back together. It was primal. Sex lasted about a minute or 2, and when it was over, I had the familiar aftertaste left by unsatisfying sex. My coercive power, which had been so relentless 5 minutes before, was spent. The manipulative force I had used left me empty. I didn't want this girl sleeping in my bed. I also didn't want to walk her home. She sat up in bed. She wanted to leave. But now it was 4 in the morning, and I couldn't let her go alone, even if she did know how to get back. "Just sleep over," I said reluctantly. "You can leave when it's light out." She did sleep over. Didn't stop grinding her teeth the entire night. When we got up the next morning, I insisted she wait and walk out with me. The last thing I said to her when we hit the streets was, "You have to walk that way to get back to your friend's house." I raped a woman.
If we were to assign a motto to Jack or to many men like him, it would sound something like this: "I'm going to have sex tonight. If it's consensual, that's fine, but I'm going to have sex tonight." What we heard Jack describe was a well-thought-out, well-calculated, and manipulative plan for how he was going to accomplish his goal. Whether she consented, which he tells us he knew that she did not, didn't matter to him. You can tell from his story that what she said, what she did, and what she wanted didn't matter. He was going to take sex from her. Consider if we had only heard her side of the story. What if she told us that she met him at a bar, drank with him, walked to his apartment with him, had some consensual sexual contact with him, and even spent the night with him? It's very unlikely that we would be seeing a successful rape charge to come from those facts, even though he tells us that all of those things were true, and he raped her in spite of them. It's important for us to know that this is not about drunk sex, and there's no such thing as accidental rape. Offenders such as this one premeditate their crimes, and they choose their victims intentionally. They also use alcohol to very intentionally help disarm their victims, and they ignore the signals of non-consent. You also heard Jack describe how the victim acted once she realized what Jack was about to do to her. She was non-responsive when he tried to kiss her. He described how she just stared past him and didn't respond as he squeezed her breasts and rubbed the inside of her thigh. She tried to keep him from pulling her blouse off, but he ignored her. During the rape, She ground her teeth together, stared blankly past him, and did not respond or participate. What Jack describes here is a common response to trauma, a frozen fright response. Jack told us how terrifying it must have been for this young woman from a different country to be forced into a sexual act by someone she had just met. Jack said that for all she knew, she could have just as easily been killed by him. You might find yourself saying, if that was me, I would never have done that, or I would have done this. We respond like this in part because none of us wants to believe that this could ever happen to us. So sometimes we judge what the victim did or didn't do. We play Monday morning quarterback. The truth is that no one knows how they will respond to a traumatic situation, such as sexual assault, until they are faced with it in their own life. Beware of this tendency to judge victims for what you think they did wrong. What matters is that we understand who put them in the situation and caused the trauma in the first place, the offender. In this case, it was Jack.